Welcome to Thoughtful Tuesdays, presented by the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group. We use psychological science to help schools create cultures where students can thrive. In this segment, we're looking at the survival brain. I am your host, Tonia Lloyd. I am a licensed mental health professional and a member of the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group. Our outcomes for today include understanding the role of the survival brain, what trauma is and its impact to the survival brains of students, what teachers and schools can do to help the smart brain remain switched on. Who will benefit? School communities. So let's get straight into it. The survival brain is made up of our brain stem, right here, the pons, the medulla oblongata. Now, when we think survival brain, it's exactly what what we rely on as very survival, right? It's responsible for regulating all of the subconscious things that we do, the automated things such as breathing, our heart rates, even our sleep and wake cycles that's controlled by the reticular activating system, the RAS, that is also found in the brain stem. Right? It connects the actual brain to our spinal cord, right? So it helps with, I'm able to do these movements, all being controlled by the brain communicating to the brain stem and the spinal cord. Now, why is this relevant when we're thinking about trauma and how students learn? Now, first, let's start with a definition of trauma. Trauma is an injury, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, such as a wound to living tissue caused by an extrinsic agent, an outside force. A disordered psychic or behavioral state resulting from severe mental or emotional stress or physical injury. An emotional upset, the personal trauma of an executive who's not living up to his own expectations, Karen W. Aronson. Now, we have an understanding, a basic understanding of trauma. We know that there are several types of traumas, big T traumas, such as rape, natural disasters, to smaller level traumas, such as, listening to your parents argue constantly, or feeling afraid, or, something being stolen, or your home is broken into, right? We have a different ranges of traumas. Today, we want to understand the impact of traumas on the brain or the survival brain of the child who's trying to learn. Now let's think of any child. Let's call our child Jonathan. Jonathan has been exposed to domestic violence. He's seen his parents fighting. He's seen his parents separate. Now Jonathan's survival brain, right, helps him to be safe, to pay attention to if something is an environment is unsafe. The reason why Jonathan's smart brain is going to be switched off is because that survival brain takes off to keep things automatic, right? Where Jonathan does not have to think through anything, he just has to take action. And we discussed the stress responses before. We have 3 stress responses: fight, flight, or freeze. Now, with regard to actual learning, the child whose survival brain is switched on means naturally that the smart brain is temporarily offline, right? So the child is struggling to learn because the survival brain is literally sabotaging or hijacking the child's ability to do that, right? So the child or the student, Jonathan, is hyper focused on threat, right? Does not want to be called upon in class. It's embarrassing, right? It limits access, as we shared, to the smart brain. Black or white thinking, things have to be very concrete for Jonathan. is unwilling to take risks, fears looking stupid, doubtful of himself, doubtful of his abilities, and he has a sensitized stress response, right? So for persons like Jonathan, who's been really, sensitized to trauma and a lot of stress, when they're in stressful situations such as learning new information that might be difficult and they can't focus, they're distracted, it heightens their reactions, right? So you call upon Jonathan and he screams out, "What?" And everybody else is laughing because Jonathan's reaction really does not match the situation. But that intensity for Jonathan, the intensity of stress is just the response is justified based on what has happened to him. Okay, now let's hop into what can schools do. And of course, I'm going to share with you the Resilient Stars program tip. We use module 4 to generate other awareness, right? Where we look at perspective taking. This would help to break the rigidity of the black and white thinking to try to practice empathy, which is, taking the perspective of another, of course, including other pieces, and then looking at conflict resolution to teach them skills in principle-based negotiations, right? The goal, the objective is to foster attachment. Now, attachment is what teachers and adults who care about students and are working within the schools can do to help children such as Jonathan and others feel safe so that they can keep their smart brains switched on, be curious about learning, be engaged, and most of all, believe in themselves that they are able to learn and to process once we are able to help them mitigate and minimize the stress. This brings us to the end of today's Thoughtful Tuesdays, where we looked at the survival brain, we looked at trauma, and we looked at the Resilient Stars module tip on how to foster attachment, right? Once we can show that we care, we can show that we actually see the students, we are there for them, and we can help them create a safe space. Until next Tuesday, be sure to submit your questions. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that we can keep this going. Thank you, and bye for now.